Seventh week in ordinary time, 20th of February, reflection. All wisdom comes from the Lord and He is with Him forever. The sand of the sea, the drops of rain, and the days of eternity, who will count them? The height of heaven, the breadth of the earth, the abyss of and wisdom, who will search them out? My dear friends, this wisdom is personified. This wisdom is Jesus. There is no one wise than the Lord Himself. And we find in the gospel today, at the time when Jesus came down the mountain with Peter and James and John. Now they were in Tabor, experienced a divine revelation encounter, and they come down. It's important that you always come down to the valley from the mountain. Without the mountain, there is no meaning in the valley. But then without the valley, there is no reason in the mountain. You climb the mountain to come down the valley. You get the power from above to deal with the situations in the ground. And they saw a great crowd around them and scribes arguing with them. And immediately all the crowd, when they saw him, were greatly amazed and ran up to him and greeted him. Now, it is a commotion where all the people have messed up. Disciples couldn't heal a person, and when you are in the mountain, sometimes we depend on people, depend on things, and we lose the track of it. Now, Jesus has to be there, but then remember, it's a process of maturity. If Jesus was there, nothing would happen. Everything would follow, it would go smoothly. That's exactly what Martha and Mary said. Lord, if you had been here, my brother could have not been dead. But then for us, it's a process of maturity. We have to be perfect in the journey. Not simply we go through, but then we have to grow through the situations. So God will let us be alone. God will strand us. He's not in the scene sometimes. So there only we learn how to deal with things, with the things that He has taught us. And He asked them, what are you arguing about with them? And someone from the crowd answered, Teacher, I brought my son to you, for he has a spirit that makes him mute. And whenever it seizes him, it throws him down, and he foams and grinds the teeth and become rigid. So I asked your disciples to cast it out, and they were not able. My dear friends, they are still learning. Of course, in the Acts of the Apostles, we find how the shadow of the disciples healed the people. Some they took a few clothes and applied it in the skin of the disciple, and they got it, and they placed it on the wounded person, and they were healed. So that kind of power they experienced. But then they are in the process of learning. They could not. Sometimes it's very discouraging, isn't it? That when you fail, when you fall and fail. But then it's a process of learning. True wisdom comes from pain. That you realize things in the journey. And they brought the boy to him. And when the spirit saw him, immediately it convulsed the boy. And he fell on the ground and rolled about, foaming at the mouth. And Jesus asked his father, how long has this been happening to him? He said, from childhood. And it has often cast him into fire and into water to destroy him. But you can, my dear friends, this is exactly what the devil does in your life. In John chapter 10 verse 10, he said, the thief will come to steal, rob and kill. Sin will devour you. Sin will completely destroy you. Possessing of the said evil one is not in one form. He can possess you in many ways. addictions, sexual addictions, your past wounds, enmity, reactions, sometimes inferiority complex, that you are so stuck in one place. That's how they will possess you. It will definitely harm you. Initially, it will give you an impetus. Initially, it will give you some thrill and kind of kick. But then later only, you have been completely destroyed. But then see, the moment of encounter, when he saw Jesus, he's putting every trump possible. When the devil dances when he is going to be destroyed. That happens. Now this one is putting the child down. And it's dangerous. Sometimes you should not give up when the situation is very arduous and difficult. The Lord is going to answer now. The answer is very close by. That's why the devil is attacking so much, using all the possible weapons, so that you will leave God. You will go away from the presence of God. That's his method and way. From childhood, and it has often cast him. See what the evil one has done to this child. The main target of the evil one is to destroy your life completely. Completely. The Lord is saying, don't be scared of the people, the one who can destroy your body, but soul. Only God can do that. So he can destroy you. Yet, there's power. There's more power in God who can condemn you. Devil cannot do that. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Now this is the problem. If you can, my dear friends, this whole episode teaches us a lot. If you can, do you really doubt God? Do you really believe that your God is bigger than your problem? Do you really believe that He can heal you? He can turn the tables topsy-turvy, situations completely? Do you really believe? If you can. So that kind of wavering faith, that's the problem. But we go to Him praying with double minds. No, if you can, Lord, I don't know whether you can. That kind of shaking mentality. My dear friends, Jesus is saying, and Jesus said, if you can, all things are possible for the one who believes. So it happens with your faith. God is almighty, ever powerful. God is omnipotent. He can do anything. But then to the extent that you believe, if you say, if you can, to that limit you are being blessed. But if you really strongly believe, when like the woman, Canaanian woman, she said, Lord, even the dogs would eat what falls from the table of the children. That kind of faith. Never give up. Never give up. Hold on to the Lord. And the more you open, more will be given. That's according to your faith. Then he says, and then we saw the crowd. If you can, are possible. All things are possible for the one who believes. Immediately the father of the child cried out and said, immediately the father of the child said, I believe, help my unbelief. This is one of the strong prayers. If you can't believe, even the answer for your unbelief is with the Lord. He's praying to God, help my unbelief. That should be our prayer. Finally, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. And after crying out and convulsing him terribly, it came out, and the boy was like a corpse, so that most of them said, he is dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he had entered the house, his disciples asked him privately, "Why could we not cast it out?" And he said, "This kind cannot be driven out by anything but prayer." My dear friends, lot to learn from this. Pray, climb the mountain, come down, deal with the devil, and have faith. Never doubt the mighty power of God. Amen. May God bless you.